A very good evening to our Madam Deputy Mayor, members of the Department of Education, especially the circuit managers from the Mafukuzela Gandhi Circuit Management Center, my fellow principals, business partners, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to one and all. It gives me incredible pleasure to stand here tonight as testament to the 12-month journey that I have enjoyed with PFP. My sincere apologies on behalf of my partner, Ms. Natasha Main, the HR executive of International Facility Services. Due to an urgent business matter in the Northern Cape, she had to fly out this morning, but she does tender apologies and she is very, very sorry that she couldn't be here tonight. But I am sure that she's here in spirit. So to the rest of the gang, please think that Natasha is standing here in front and she's helping me with this presentation. If we look at the slide, it says, change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. With that in mind, and being a new principal, I looked at ways in which I could market my school with the sole intention of attracting funding and sponsors. But I was pleasantly surprised that when I was chosen to become part of the PFP, and even more so thinking that, knowing that God had his hand in this journey, because I was matched with Natasha. Can we have the picture of Natasha and I? That was 1 year and 1 day ago at the boardroom, Debbie Haswell's boardroom super spa in Pinetown, when we first met, and thus began our journey. Natasha, coming from an education consultancy background, came in with a wealth of knowledge, and she was able to assist me. More especially in terms of, I was looking at ways in which we could increase our management skills at school. Knowing, coming from the Department of Education, with their limited funding, limited times, because more often than not, education officials are deployed in schools that have serious challenges. Fortunately, I do not have those serious challenges, but being the kind of focus-driven person that I am, I wanted to move ahead. So Natasha came in with this wealth of experience, and we sat together at regular meetings, and we decided now, let's look at a way in which we not only empower the principal of the school, because that's bad leadership when you only empower the head. You need to empower everybody at school. And a school is as strong as its people. And its people means the learners, the teachers, the general assistants, and last, the principal. Principal leads from the back. In our regular, we looked at ways in which we could do this. And the first one was the institutional announcements. And we sat together. In fact, Natasha had come up with certain programs, and we had started the workshops with the staff. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, she's been a very busy person. We were not able to meet all targets. But as we said, today may be a celebration, but the journey continues. And hopefully, in the next 2 years, all the targets that we have set would have been completed. And some of the things we were looking at were strategic leadership, knowledge management, communication and self-management, and most importantly, financial management. What we had done initially was a climate survey was done at school. Teachers were given questionnaires, and we were sourcing out what were the do's and don'ts, how could we improve the situation at school, what were some of the things that needed improvement, what were some of our challenging areas. And this climate survey had helped us a lot, and we had brought this out in the workshops that we had. And some of the pictures would, talk to that. Then, specifically looking at principal support, we met regularly. We had networking opportunities, principal support. This had given me an opportunity to look at schools that were better resourced, much bigger schools, and one of them was going to Thomas More College, and this was through my partner who was able to facilitate this visit, and I'd spent an entire day there, and we were able to network and are still networking with the management of Thomas More. But I was not too surprised because basically we didn't work very differently from them in terms of curriculum delivery, in terms of the goals that we set. But the major difference was the funding, because the school, the buildings speak for itself, the resources speaks for itself. But I was quite proud, in fact I was very proud, that when it came to curriculum delivery, I could stand head and shoulders with them. But I do, look forward to other opportunities where we are going to network with other schools. Then, one of the most important things we're looking at for the future is in terms of involving our parent community. Because in an area that where my school is, we have very little or no parental involvement. And this seriously impacts on what happens to the learners at school. So we are trying to look in that direction. And a serious problem is departmental engagement, especially when we want to address issues of funding and quintile. And I am hoping that this won't only happen for me and for Sterngrove Primary, but for all our principals seated here, where we can re-look at the funding that we receive. All right, then, if we look at this partnership, what were some of our personal achievements? With Natasha and I, we had this understanding and respect, and we found that we both were rewarded in our interaction with each other. In fact, every time that Natasha came to school, she was just amazed that we were able, with the little funding that we had, that we were able to run the school the way we did. And I was amazed with this knowledge that she had, and wished that she was directly linked in the education department. So she would have been, a source of inspiration and assistance to all principals and all schools. We certainly tried, and I know we did make a difference in terms of our interactions, which spilled off onto the classroom, on the learners, and on the staff. And the spirit of sharing was really very, very evident in terms of Natasha would read an article and then she would send it to me, or she would say, did you see this? And do you know how much parents spend on cell phones, but they cannot pay your school fees? And so we've got this big project. Before we announce 2018 school budget, she's designing this poster and this little magazine which you're going to send out to the parents and try to, prick their conscience into paying the school fees. Reminiscing about this journey, I can only think about, the bigger things that are to come. And I was very fortunate that I was teamed up with Natasha. And for that, maybe I ought to be grateful to Devi and to Sumeshni that's here, who teamed us up. And thank you for that, Sumeshni. And I would just want to say thank you very much to Partners for Possibility for giving us this opportunity. A very important bond and relationship was forged amongst us 16 people, and more especially amongst the principals, because I always complained about the low funding until I sat in our group meetings and our group sessions and listened to what had happened on the other side. And it made me think and say, you know what, stop complaining, now use the facilities that have been given to you and be able to get the sponsors and do the things that you want to do in the school. And I want to end off with this saying, if we are facing in the right direction, all we have to do is keep on walking. Thank you very much.